Wadup. So we created a video. This is the continuation of the video series that we were doing for, API performance testing. Earlier, we were checking how many concurrent requests at a time a particular API can handle, how they perform against each other. So we had like multiple frameworks, web frameworks. So we had Express Server, then we had Fast API, then we had Play Framework and Gin, and finally Next.js Express, which is similar to Express endpoint only. So in case if you're not familiar with what are the methodologies that I was following here and how these tests were running and everything, I would recommend you to go and check the previous video where I've discussed everything. But if I talk about this specific video, so here what we are testing is, earlier we were testing if I bombard a particular endpoint with lots of requests, how is it going to handle that? Okay, so basically, if I bombard with 10 requests, what is the average response time, how many requests fail, etc., etc. This one, if you see the method, we have the send request JSON parsing. So we are sending a JSON payload, which is not too big, but not too small either. So this is, entire JSON payload that we are sending to the server. So this payload we are sending, and it's basically an array of, objects where object schema is like user ID, title, and body. And then when it is received by the backend, they are supposed to parse the JSON and then return it back. We are not doing any operations with that, but we are just making sure, it is getting parsed. So if I quickly show you one by one, how the parsing is happening. Let me go to the Express server first. So we have it here. So here I'm using express.json parser instead of body parser because in new versions this is much used. And then I'm just getting the body and then doing a response json.body. Okay, because this you might be thinking I should use something like json.parse here, but when we use this as a middleware, it automatically acts as a middleware and parses the request and converts it into JavaScript object. So that's what is happening here. So we are getting the body after it is getting parsed and we are returning it. Okay, there is no json.parse required here because that is being taken care of by this guy itself. Okay, so that is number one. Then if I go back, we have other endpoints like we have, let me go to the request utils. So we have Python fast API endpoint. Again, here we are using a class which is implementing base model, and then we are getting this list post, and this is also getting passed here, and then we are returning the posts as it is. Okay, so here again nothing much we are doing. So that is number two. Then if I again go back, so in the Scala play endpoint, if I show you, so here what I'm doing is I'm creating an action, I'm getting the JSON body and then just validating if it is a valid sequence of post. Post is a case class that you can see here. So we have post case class like this, and we are using play JSON to parse it. There are some other methods like upickle, vpickle, and some other JSON parsers that are available in Scala. But for the simplicity's sake and because we are all using play framework, so I'm just using normal, JSON parsing. And if it is valid, then I'm returning the same JSON as it is. And I was doing one extra conversion here, which was basically converting JSON into JSON, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm just returning it as it is. So that's what this particular program is doing. And then I have added the route for the post request. So yeah, that's all. And in case if we get any error, we are just giving that bad request error here. That's it. Okay. So that is about the Scala. And if I go back, so for Go, again, we did a very minor addition. We added this get post method. We created a structure. We created this structure where we have, array of these user ID and everything. And then we are returning it back with the results. And if it is, invalid for any reason, then we are returning invalid request. Okay. So that is for the Go one. And then finally, we are having Express endpoint, which is just into the same API. So the Express one, we are just checking if the method is post, then return body would automatically be passed and return it as it is. Okay, so no more changes here as well. And the way we are validating error this time is basically checking if the JSON.stringify, which was the earlier payload, is equal to the JSON.stringify of the data that is coming from the request or not. So this is everything, and of course we don't need to actually convert it into JSON here. We could have just used JSON tech.txt text and that would have worked, but again, not a big deal because this would be common for all the APIs. Okay, and if I go and show you the API call, so here we have endpoint. We will go one by one. We will make 10, 100, and 1,000 requests at a time, and then we will do the same appending thing, and then we will write it into the location. So here I have already have the performances, and let's walk through them one by one to see how did they perform. So starting with the next server, which was production build of next, we can see that for 10 requests, we had no failed request for each of these, and average response time was around 31 milliseconds. Of course, these response times would definitely increase to 120 or so, around that milliseconds when you are making a request to cross-platform, meaning some other API server. Okay, just because it is on my local host, so these response times are considerably low. But when you are deploying a real-world API, which is distributed among different servers, then this will increase up to 80, 90, and so on, depending upon how much optimized it is and how close it is to your location servers, how close they are placed. Okay, so we can see that it is 31, 43, and then 30. Similarly, when we bombard with 100 requests, after parsing, it goes around 169, 178, 163, and with 1000 requests, it goes even more. It goes about 1.3 seconds, which is considerably longer, but still it is fine because we are also bombarding it with 1000 requests for every per second. So yeah. Okay, so in normal express, you will see that there are considerable amount of there's very less difference when it is just 10 requests. So it is few milliseconds, I think 8 or 9. But when you go to 100 milliseconds, then things become it almost gets doubled. So let me just where is express next? Yeah. So here you can see that it is almost 169, which is double of this, even a little bit more than double, but again, we can consider it to be almost double, okay? And the same thing happens for 1000 requests as well. So I would say that as the request increase, since this next based Express servers get a little bit slower compared to normal Express servers. So yeah, that is one of the observations. Now let's move on to the fast API. So if we compare fast API with Express, we will see that again here you will see that the parsing is pretty fast, and that is what I actually thought of earlier also. Like as long as it is just getting and sending back the requests, of course, Express would be outperforming all of these. Yeah, so for lower number of requests, fast API is almost similar to Express server. But again, as that number of requests increases, it slightly goes to the higher side, and you can see that. It is better than what we had in Next, where we had 169, 178, and 163. And here we are almost a little bit lesser, not too less. And of course, the maximum response time is more for the fast API. And then for the 1000 request, we have approximately 1.8 seconds and zero point 0.5 seconds. And here we have even, a little bit on a higher side. So this was something that I would expect because, like when it comes to doing some in-house performances, like JSON parsing is part of the in-house performance, fast API would slowly get some edge compared to handling concurrent requests. If we see the concurrent requests one, then it was totally in favor of Express servers. I mean, even in the next case. However, in the case of only single Express server, it is much faster in all aspects, even with the fast API. So yeah, that's about the fast API. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one. So here we have Go, and let's get it in one corner. And if we see the results for Go against Express, this was a little bit confusing to me because you can see that Express is very much close to Go. We have average response time, which is higher in Go case, and of course minimum response is lesser. But then if we go total concurrent request, it also goes 975. And if we open let's say fast API at the same time, we can see that 18, 19, and 523, and yeah, like Go is definitely faster than fast API, but it is quite close to Express, and in fact Express is faster at some point, which is great. So maybe we can say that JSON parsing is something that I'm not sure if there is a better way to parse the JSON, like if this is the way, or we can parse it in some other way or also. But yeah, this definitely helps us to know that when it comes to JSON parsing, JavaScript has a better methodology, whatever it follows. And of course, JSON is also JavaScript object notation, so parsing might be having little edge in case of JavaScript. So that's all about this particular JSON parsing tutorial. Uh, in the same series, we will be doing a simple for loop iteration. We will be iterating about 10,000 elements, and yeah, let's see in that case which particular framework performs better. Until then, see you. Thank you very much. Bye.